They said, we're cutting your salary. Oh my gosh. I couldn't let that person control my destiny. It worked out. So at the end of last year, actually, I just quit my 9-to-5. And my company is big enough now. I recently just was awarded my first tier contract, $60,000 contract with Department of Homeland Security. I didn't even have to bid that. They call me. I show them that you're the reliable person, and they will just start calling you. Stay focused, stay positive, and not give up.
Mike Dillard is our special guest today, and one of the original OGs in my beta government contracting courses. And we also have the pleasure of meeting in person. So I am so honored to have you here today.
Wow. Thank you, Kizzy. As you know, I don't just consider you my mentor, but I consider you a very close friend and my sister. Like, you already know that, right? But I'm super excited to be on here and get to tell the whole world how freaking awesome and amazing you are. So I'm excited.
Well, you're so kind. And listen, he's been a big brother to me. And I'm excited for everyone to learn about you, because when we initially met, we both were in the middle of taking a course on basically how to sell some stuff online. And then
coaching.
I learned, coaching. And then I learned like you were in sales. And so talk to us about that, because I always want to know, like, how did you get into government contracting? How did you go from sales coaching to government contracting?
I think that's a great question. And like so many other people getting into GovCon, right? It's not like a straight path, it's kind of up, down the corner, sideways and whatnot. So I was working at an electrical contracting company, a very large one in Hawaii. I retired from the Navy, as you know. I was a submarine mechanic, chief petty officer. And I retired, I think in like 2010. Time flies. So right out of grad school, I got picked up with that contract company, right? And, sometimes you do certain work and you don't realize you're really going to be good at it. And that job was one of those things where I was top 1% in the world for 7 years straight. I was just killing it at will, right? I was so happy flying around different trips and winning these awards. And it was just so great, the space, and I couldn't complain. And then I would say 2016, I was out looking for maintenance. I'm like, who can I sell maintenance to? So I went to the VA center out here in Honolulu, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to find a maintenance manager. We're talking about selling electrical maintenance, blah, blah, blah. And the worker said, oh, are you a veteran? I said, yeah. He said, oh my gosh, are you disabled veteran? Yeah. He said, man, I wish I was in your shoes. I wish I was you. Like, what are you talking about? Man, Supreme Court just made this big ruling where the VA has to give preferential treatment to veterans, for these government contracts. He said, man, if I was you, I would start a government contract and maintenance company. You can be winning all these contracts. I'm like, okay. I didn't really think about it. That was 2016. I wrote it out because I'm like, the timeline is all over the place. 2016, right? So, I was doing well. I just kind of tucked it away in my mind. And then later on that year at my job, I witnessed the company owner totally embarrass, shame, and fire this HR EO manager. So she actually was doing her job. He kept telling this guy, look, there's certain laws that are in place. You cannot do certain things. If you do these things, we're going to be liable. So he did one of the things that she told him again not to do, and she basically went to his office and let him have it. So we all heard her, yelling at the dude. Of course, he responded in kind and like fashion, screamed back at her and fired her on the spot. Out of here, you get out of my company. Fired her throughout that moment. Super shameful, super embarrassing. And I was thinking, I knew the history, so I know that woman had been at his company almost maybe 15 years. She was a great employee, and he fired her. And so what started happening to me, I know this kind of a long roundabout way, but what happened to me was I started experiencing panic attacks. Now, I didn't know they were panic attacks at the time. I just went to the VA, and I'm like, hey, something's wrong with me. I don't know what's going on. My heart rate, sometimes I can't really breathe. I'm having trouble sleeping, and the doctor was like, it sounds like you're having panic attacks to me. I'm a Navy chief. What do you mean panic attacks, right? But what I didn't understand was, in the Navy, I always had job security. But now, in this at-will kind of termination employment thingy, right? They could just fire you at will, basically. I never understood that. So even though you're doing your job well, if somebody wants, they could just fire you. So once I learned that, I'm like, wait a minute. I really started kind of freaking out. And I may be oversimplifying that law. I'm not an HR person, I'm just saying, but I believe that's the gist of it. I kind of started freaking out because I realized I was bringing in basically $4 to $6 million for that company. And that dude could just fire me. He could just fire me. Oh my gosh, right? I got a family. I got 2 houses. I had a house in California. I don't know what to do, right? So I realized, you know what? Job security is an illusion at best. That was my conclusion. I said, Dad, you know what? I'm gonna start my own company. This is crazy. I could do anything, right? So it took me a minute to figure it out. So 2017, because that was the end of 2016 when I saw him fire that lady. 2017, I'm like, okay, I got to start a company. I got to figure out what to do. So I kind of wrote everything down and then I narrowed it down to, I said, oh, you know what? I was a master training specialist. One of the things I did in the Navy, I'll do training. I can do it easily. That's not a problem, right? So that's what I did. And I saw a guy out here do electrical consulting. He did like this training seminar and I started counting up the dollars. I'm like, wait a minute, this dude made how much money for a seminar he did in like 2 hours? Could totally do that. I'm gonna do that. So the catch was I wasn't an electrician. So like the special certification that I have, basically only electricians have it. But because when I was in the Navy, I was a mechanic, but I loved electrical stuff. So I cross-trained. I had all of this proof in my military records that I trained electrical stuff. So they said, you know, we'll give you an exception. We'll give you an exception. All you have to do on the side is do like this many points in online training. And it took me the rest of the year to do all of this stuff. And then I had to take a 3-hour open book test on these electrical books, but I passed it and I got the certification. So once I did that, I said, okay, now I'm gonna start training. I started going around training and whatnot. 2017. So 2018, I started my company. I'm kind of rambling.
No, it's just
Ion Reliability. The company I met you was Ion Reliability Training and Consulting. Remember they had like a little atom sign, which is pretty cool. But then the pandemic hit. Now, mind you, I'm doing all of this as a side hustle. I still have my 9-to-5. I'm doing it as a side hustle because I kept seeing online, and Kizzy would tell me like, you know, you could do this stuff as a side hustle. You can do it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. The pandemic hit, I believe, 2020. I couldn't train anymore because no one would let you come into their space to do the training, right? I wasn't set up with online courses. So basically, my company was just dead in the water. I wasn't making any money. Oh, shoot. I got to figure out how to make money. Now, I was an essential worker because I worked for an electrical contracting company, so I can move about freely. But of course, a lot of my sales dropped, my commissions dropped because people were, like gun shy, they were gun shy, I guess. They were afraid to pull the trigger and spend money on maintenance because they didn't know what was going to happen. So no one was buying from me. I'm like, crap, okay, I still got a salary, but then the 9-to-5 cut my salary in half. They didn't fire my team. They just said, we're cutting your salary. We'll still keep you. Oh my God. Okay, now what? Yeah, Lord, help me. I gotta figure something out. So then I started looking online what to do. And at that time, you know, the big craze was coaching. Hey, you can do coaching, you can virtual or whatnot. So Vanessa Lau was the one that was killing it at the time. She was in the space and I'm seeing all her videos. You know, when you're trying to do something, go to YouTube University, right? So I'm going on YouTube and I'll put a search in for coaching. And, you know, Vanessa Lau just kept coming in. She was blowing up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend this money. I'm going to join her academy and I'm going to learn because I have to figure out what to do to make money. And I did. And then like right before I finished that, I remember Hizzy joined a group and me and her kind of connected. Oh, you're connecting with all these people in the space. And I remember seeing what she did. And I'm like, wait a minute. She has multiple government contracting companies. I'm like, oh my God, like that's what I would want to do. You know, I want to get into that space. Now, the funny thing is, before I had joined that, I had gone online and, you know, I saw some of the people that were also industry leaders in the space, so to speak, right? And I reached out to them and, you know, their videos were helpful and they were kind of helpful and whatnot. I joined some of their programs and I learned a little bit. I'll say that because, you know, I appreciate everything that I learned from anybody. But then, you know, me and Kizzy, you know, we started talking and you were like, oh, you know, I'm going to do this beta program, you know, I'll mentor you and help coach you. And I said, okay, well, let's do this, right? And so I remember telling you like, hey, you know what? These people they're nice people. They're doing all right. I said, but the way that you teach and coach and mentor, I said, like, they can't touch you. I said, you will come in and you will just take over this space. I know it. And so just now to talk to you, like, you know, we're talking offline and to hear that you had like over 1 million views on your video. I'm like, I remember when we had to talk back in the day, like you've gone from that to wow, just killing it, right? So anyway, that's how I ended up getting into the space because things just went a particular way and I realized, so I had to take control of the narrative, so to speak. And I couldn't let that person control my destiny and, you know, what I'm going to offer and provide for my family, right? So that's what I did. Now the story keeps going though, right? If I might, story keeps going.
Yeah, because, you know, for some, they may have just said, okay, let me just make the most out of the pay cut. Maybe I'll look for another job. Maybe I'll get a second job. But what I love about you, Mike, is that you're like, okay, I'm going to run with government contracting. And for everyone watching, he's in Hawaii. So keep in mind, you can do this anywhere. You don't have to live on the mainland. And so as you continue your story, definitely talk about those first wins because your wins came pretty fast.
Yeah, I will say that. I will say that. You know what? 2021, I realized, because there were some things that we tried to put in bids for or whatnot, right? We didn't win that one. We put in one for something on Pearl Harbor. I just knew we were gonna get it because I had a great relationship with the manager and everything. And then remember, some lady came in and like totally underbid us, like great underbid us. We were like, so I didn't win there, right? So there was a lot of ups and downs, and I tried winning at state contracts, and none of that stuff panned out. But then I think, we had different talks over time, and I realized that, well, I'm not trying to be a prime contractor. I'm not trying to be a GC. I need to hit up these people that already have contracts and that are looking for somebody like me, and that's what I did. So, I was used to selling electrical maintenance. I'm like, shoot, if I was top in the world doing that, I'm still the same guy with the same knowledge. I could do the same thing. So I started pitching these GCs, and that's when I started winning contracts. Now, granted, they were second-tier contracts, but it doesn't matter. It's still experience. It can still look and see like, oh, Massive Kinetics. Well, first it was Ion Global. I did a DBA before I killed that company. And then I started winning those contracts. And then at some point I said, you know what? This company does not reflect who I am and what I learned in the Navy. Like, I can do so much more than just do electrical stuff. So I decided, okay, I'm going to start a new company and then kill that old company. And that's what I did. I killed Ion and I birthed Massive Kinetics Contracting, or MK, right? And, we offered a lot more things. So, because primarily I was a mechanic in the Navy. So I said, okay, I need to be doing the mechanical. I need to be doing the electrical. I need to be doing training. And then this year, we're going to start doing AI, IT, staffing and whatnot. And it's just been crazy. But I recently just was awarded my first tier contract. So it's interesting, like right after I got word that they were accepting my contract, they were going with me. I think maybe like a week after you hit me, I was like, hey, Mike, hey, I want to have you on the show. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Your timing. Your timing. Like, I finally won like my first contract, right? So I was super happy. And of course, I want to let you know, I always let you know my wins, right? But the wins for me primarily it was the second tier stuff. It was going after these contractors because, these GCs already, the general contractors of these primes, they win these large contracts. And it doesn't mean that they have the capability to actually go, oh, we're going to do electrical, we're going to do mechanical. No, they may have a license to do general contracting or whatever, but they have established relationships with people. So they vet people out, they hire them, and they do that particular portion of the job. Of course, it's still a price thing, right? Because that company wants to make sure they make a profit. You can't, oh, I'm going to make $50,000, $60,000 on government contracts. Sometimes you can, sometimes I have, right? I'm just saying. But other times it's not the case. Like sometimes I remember, we were discussing strategy on some things. That's like, hey, you know what? Maybe on this job, just go real low, take the L, but you want to get your foot in the door and get established. And once these people, because there's a whole strategy, right? You were teaching me that once you get your foot in the door, these people are just normal people. They have a job to do. They need reliable people. And, you want to show them that you're the reliable person, and they will just start calling you. Because as nice as it is to say like, oh, I won this bid, and that, you want people to actually call you so you don't have to go on the bid. So really, if I'm being transparent, like the one I just won with Department of Homeland Security, I didn't even have to bid that. Like they called me. They reached out to me. They actually reached out to somebody else, and that company said, no, we don't do that. You need to talk to Mike Dillard. Mike Dillard is the guy that does that. Then they call me. Oh, sure, I'll come. Oh, yeah, I'll do it. And that's how I got that. So people start calling me. So I have it's not totally finalized yet, but there's something that's coming up in Guam. One of my dreams was to branch out into Guam, Alaska, and California. And it's funny how things just start coming together, right? So I have a former customer of mine from my 9-to-5 who remembered me, and I always let him know like what I did on the side. And now he wants me to come out and do his hotels in California. He also has a hotel out here. So it'll be one of those things where my company will be doing the electrical maintenance and providing the training for him. But like, that's something where people are starting to reach out to me. Somebody reached out to me from Guam, and I thought it was Kizzy. I thought it was a joke. I'll keep getting this call and this person's leaving messages. And I'm like, this is a joke. This is spam, man. I ain't even messing with this. I got too many things to think about. And then one day I flew back from Kauai. I was doing business out there at Kauai. And the dude called the guy and said, you know what? Let me just follow up on this. Because what if it's legit? And you know what? It was legit. They wanted me to come out and do an energy audit for them. And I'm like, well, I'm in Hawaii. Like, you're in Guam. Surely there's somebody in Guam and they're like, no, it's not.
Oh.
And I had been hearing that, like, there's so much work available in Guam, but a lot of people don't want to be bothered with it. So, once I vetted this guy out and looked everything up and saw it was legit, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. Heck yeah, I'm gonna do it, right? That's what I wanted to do. So it's amazing where I just incorporated MK November of 2022 and then right away started winning. So like earlier this year, I just did some work for NOAA. It was another second tier contract. NOAA has this huge facility on Fort Island. We're over there doing like medium voltage work and switching. I mean, all types of stuff, right? So anyway, I feel like I'm kind of rambling and I apologize.
No, you're not rambling at all. I love this. Yeah. What I love is you not only ran with it, but just to level set for everyone, a tier 2 is you subcontract. Is that the company kind of middleman in that might ended up connecting with them. However, in which one of your greatest skills, you're a connector, you're resourceful, and you're amazing at sales. I mean, he was in the top 1%. So then you throw in, here's this skill set you have that's so unique and valuable. It's like, boom, okay. And a lot of these big companies have a need to meet subcontracting goals. So regardless of the profit margin, it's a win-win. And then now, because of your reputation, because of your past performance, you didn't have to worry about going on Sam.Gov. You didn't have to go on Unison. You didn't have to go to some event in DC. You had an agency reach out to you. And then on top of it, you had Guam, because I think it's a beautiful play. And if I may, I would add in Japan, because you're way closer to Guam than I am.
Yeah.
And so from what I've seen, I've come across religious opportunities in Guam. I believe in Guam, they even had something for HR or for tourism board. It's important sometimes to even look at where we're located. If you know, hey, geographically speaking, you're in a position where people in New York, even in California, Iowa, Ohio are going to be like, Guam, I would love to go there and vacation, but I don't even know if I could trust somebody to work next door. That's not you. And so as you build, it's like, keep going. This is great. I love this, Mike.
Thank you, Kidley. You mentioned something about wins. I wanted to say that my first win actually with the government space was NAVFAC, because I was doing training and then I learned from the pandemic. I'm like, you know what? When the pandemic hit, I didn't have anything online. I had nothing. And so I said, okay, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to get some online courses. And I partnered with somebody, a good friend of mine in the Bahamas, Yvette Bethel. I partnered with her and we had some online courses. And it was one of those things where, like you said, my reputation, the skill set, and then I have a website. So if you're just getting started, I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money on a website. I'm not saying you need a website to do government contracting. We all know you don't. But it does help with your credibility, right? When people look for you and they see, okay, they really do have a company, it's legitimate, because NAVFAC told me, we just did a search to see who does this type of training in Hawaii. And mine was it pinged at the top and they're like, call this guy. And so I asked them like, well, hey, how did you find me? Because I wasn't doing advertising because I was working at my 9 to 5 and I didn't want them to find out, I was doing that type of work. So it was reputation and the website was there. And of course, when people find you, they want to ask around. So obviously your reputation it should be stellar. You should be, as they say, above reproach. If you're doing shady stuff, stop doing the shady stuff.
Yeah.
I come back to bite you.
Right. If you may share, how much was that first contract? Because that was pretty early on. That was like, I think after the beta or during that. How much was that contract?
Right. They were small contracts. That they could use their, technically it's not called a government credit card, but there's a credit card, right? Because if it was for a larger amount, then they're like, hey, we got to put this out for bid, but we like the training stuff that you have. So I think there were certain modifications I had to make on the website. So anyway, to answer your question, it may have been something like $3,000 here, $2,500 there. They were small. I stopped using big and small, right? Because it's a label. A win is a win.
It's still huge.
It's a win, right? So now I can say, hey, I did work with NAVFAC. I sold courses to NAVFAC. So now it's easier to move in that space because NAVFAC can see, well, okay, yeah, he has done this stuff, right? So it doesn't have to be a big one at first. And when you first told me like, hey, I'd like for you to come on and do this, I was thinking, I think I just saw one of the videos where Ashley, you did with Ashley, she was like working out of her truck and doing stuff. I mean, it is a hustle, right? It's a side hustle, right? And, she was saying like she didn't feel like she deserved, like she had won enough contracts to come on and talk, and how her husband encouraged her. So, I'm really glad that you did that interview with her, because it got me thinking like, you know what? I have wins. I'm not the guy that went out for the job for the walkthrough and nobody showed up and, hey, I won this contract. Like, I saw videos like that and I was like, oh Lord, that'd be me. But that was not me, right? That was not me.
The pro. That was him.
You know, but does happen sometimes, but I think it's a matter of being determined. I think you had mentioned that in the video. You have to be determined that you're going to sell it. It's not hard to sell it. You just need to be consistent. You know, again, I had my 9 to 5, which I had to keep up and running. So I couldn't show them that my sales are dropping because I'm focusing on this. So now I had to work even harder, right? I still had to keep that up, still had to train the whole team across the state. And I have to build my own company on the side and kind of keep it hush hush and just talk to people, right? And it worked out. So at the end of last year, actually, I just quit my 9 to 5. And my company is big enough now. I've got enough contacts. We're branching out. Hey, it's been good. Thank you for the experience. Gotta go. Gotta go. So, I mean, it worked out well. And so now this is me. This MK all day, right? This is what we do, right? So I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. I was so excited for you because I want to add to this because you talked about, you know, the walkthrough and things. I remember one of my first trips to Hawaii, you had gone to a site visit. It was an opportunity, I believe, with the state and local. And you met amazing people. We ended up sharing food together. You helped organize that. But you didn't give up. You could have gone to that site visit and been like, man, I don't want to do this. But you kept and you kept and you kept. And that you also did something that's really vital is you kept performing at a stellar level at your 9 to 5, because I've come across some where they started to dip and then they were using company computers and things for their business. And you never want to do that. You want to always stay at a high level of integrity, and you just have to do both. And what's going to happen is exactly what's happened for Mike. You're going to get to that point where you're like, oh my gosh, I can leave, because you're going to end up making more money. You're going to have more opportunities. And look at all of these blessings. Wham, you manifested it.
Well, I say the Lord blessed me with that. I was praying about it, and he blessed me with that. So I'm super excited to see what's going on. And I love what you said, right? If you ever look at any of my LinkedIn stuff, I usually will always sign off and say like, and remember, never give up. It's your time to shine. Like, you got this. It's your time to shine, right? Because for me, that's just been the hallmark of where I am right now. It's just not giving up. Because, of course, everybody has life that's happening to them, right? So, yeah, we're here talking about business, but what we're not talking about is all the stuff that was going on in the background. You're just trying to live, family, drama, whatever, right? There's all types of stuff that is also occurring simultaneously, and you got to learn to juggle and balance all that stuff. Stay focused, stay positive, keep your eye on the prize, and not give up. And there's days where you're going to feel like giving up. But I used to tell my youngest daughter, Kyra, because sometimes, you know, she was killing it in her space, and sometimes she didn't feel like she was winning. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes your emotions lie to you, right? Sometimes you can feel like you losing and really you're killing it. Or, and those days, maybe you're not so much killing it. You don't have proof like, I got all these sales coming in, but okay, so what you got to look at is, what wins have I done? Like, you have to change your perspective on what a win is. Like, hey, got up today. I made the phone calls today. I sent the emails today. I made the contacts today, right? And you just keep going step after step. And the more you do that, it's like then the momentum starts building. When you stop doing that, you'll notice the momentum will die down. So you have to keep doing it. Somehow figure out how to do it, because that's the same thing I had to do. No one's going to give you a get out of jail free. Oh, you don't have to do it because, you know, you got a family and you got all this stuff going. No, Mike, you don't got to do that. Yeah, you do, because everybody else has to do it. Everybody wants an opportunity. So you just have to decide first. Don't try to figure out how you're going to do it. Make the decision first. I am going to do this. Then once you make the decision, then you'll be able to figure out. It'll all kind of come up real quick. But until you make up your mind that you're going to do it, you're going to be like, oh, I can't find out how to do it. I don't know, because you ain't decided to do it yet. But what I'm telling you, once you decide, boom, 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 it'll jump off from there.
And everything starts to come into place because you made that decision to take the leap, to burn the boats. You're going forward, and then boom, it's like with you. You know, it wasn't just, okay, I got these, you know, government purchase card and that's all I'm doing several years later. No, it's like you growing as a subcontractor, you left your 9 to 5, you're getting this other contract, you're doing work in Guam, you're going to get work in Japan. I'm putting that out there for you. You know, right. Like it starts to happen.
And it's really exciting. And it's one of those things where, you know, you have to pay your dues. I mean, you got to put in the work. I'll just put it like that, right? You have to put in the work, even if it's somebody that, oh, I went out my first time and I won the contract. Hey, you know, they still had to put in the work.
Right.
They had to put in the work up front to even get to that point to do the walkthrough. Some people I talk to about government contracting that are interested, and they're like, oh, I heard it's a lot of paperwork. Can't tell you how many times I heard that. It's so much paperwork. Oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, well, it just sounds like it's a tedious thing. I just need to identify what papers I need and then just do that. Make a checklist. In the Navy chiefs are huge. We have a checklist for everything. I just made a checklist and I just went down a list. I thought I had everything. I submitted it and went for it. And then, the government would tell you, oh, you're missing this and that. Oh, okay. It wasn't that difficult. It was tedious, but don't let other people's perceptions, their fear or doubts or laziness or whatever stop you. Hey, that's on you. You thought it was too hard. I'm sorry you felt that way. I pushed through it. I got it done. And then once you do it, then you see, oh, it actually wasn't that bad. Shoot, I could have done this a long time ago. And so if you haven't done it yet, I'm just going to encourage you, do it now. Make the decision that, one, you are going to do it. You are going to do it. Two, I would highly encourage you that you are going to use Dr. Kizzy Parks. Let me tell you, shout out for Kizzy, right? I had other coaches in the government space and they were helpful, but what Kizzy is like, they might help me like here, right? But what Kizzy is providing is so much more superior. I mean, you're going to get way more than just learning. It's like, you want to coach. Kizzy is a coach. She's an amazing coach. She's an amazing mentor. She's going to have your back. Kizzy will give you the shirt off your back, off her back. Let me say, Kizzy will give you the shirt off her back. Like, if you need help, Kizzy is going to be there to help you. Now I gotta say, if you're the person that's not gonna put anything into it, right? You get out what you put in, right? So don't be the person that think that you can just sign up and, oh, Kizzy's gonna do everything for me. It doesn't, she's a coach. She's a coach. If people on a football team or whatever would show up and they're not putting in the work, the coach ain't gonna do it for them. Like, you gotta do it. You are the person in the space. You gotta do it, right? But if you committed to it, Kizzy would be committed to you and she will help you no matter what, and you will win. So now our relationship now has been since like 2020. And so like, okay, I'm winning now. I'm winning in this space. I was already winning before, but now I'm winning in this space, right? But it's amazing. Kizzy has always, hey, Mike, why don't you try this? Or why don't you look for that? Or did you see this bid? It's things that I wouldn't think about, but that's what an amazing coach does. She's thinking about that stuff for you. He's looking at your capabilities and what your strengths are. So like, she told me my strength. She knows that. Not that I'm her friend now, but this is what coaches do. Great coaches. They assess your strengths and weaknesses and help you. And that's what Kizzy does, which is why so many people love her in this space. One of the reasons I love her. Right. So go with Kizzy. And then the last thing is just never give up.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I adore you because it's so sweet of you to say. And thing is, Mike took action. All it takes is action, because regardless, you could have the best coach if you don't take action, or we've seen it with professional athletes. They're on amazing teams, but if they're out there doing other things, then they're not going to be on that amazing team. You can take this and you can run with it. And that's exactly what Mike has done. I mean, he was able to leave his 9-to-5. I get those type of messages all the time. Hey, I want to leave my 9-to-5. I don't like my job. I want something more. I want more time with my family. I don't like my job. I don't like my boss. I'm only doing this job until. And Mike has actually reached that point through government contracting. So I, one, commend you. And two, I commend you because initially it was like, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to train. I want to do online training. And then I was like, okay, this is great, but you can do a lot more than this. And there's other things you can do. And I love that he went with it because it's always learn, apply, adjust, learn, apply, adjust. So even just changing the business, because I remember the old logo and we had lots of conversations about that. But those are the things that are important. Because they look at our name, they look at our logo, and you don't want to be confusing to them. They're going to be like, what? They want to be like, oh, MK, got them. MK Contracting. That's a powerful name.
And you see how simple the logo is now, right? That's it.
Simple. Thank you. Amen.
Super simple.
I'm so grateful. Because you want it to be simple. And this whole space is simple. Like you said, you just got to do it. So those who are like, oh, the paperwork, I feel like that's a lot of things people say to keep you out of the game.
Now, I was just thinking too, there's a lot of people in the space that are also, it's a hustle. Everybody's trying to get paid. So they'll charge you a whole bunch of money. Hey, we'll help you get this stuff. I have a buddy of mine that think he paid somebody $5,000 to get some type of certification. I was like, dude, honestly, you could have done it yourself. I wish I had known that you was going to pay because I did it myself. I could have just told you, get this, get this, get this, get this. So, I mean, he felt kind of bad. And I was like, well, it is what it is. I mean, you have the certifications, so don't feel bad. But moving forward, before, you go pay somebody, maybe you should do the research and see if it's something that you can do yourself. And to get started in government contracting, like, yeah, you can do that yourself. You do need a coach. Otherwise, you're going to be fumbling around because you're just not going to know what to do, right? There's only so much that you can glean from videos, but it's a whole nother thing when you're interacting one-on-one with this person that is credible, that, Kizzy is an SME. She is definitely a subject matter expert. She's a top leader in the field, right? So, if you're coming to Kizzy, she knows this stuff. And then the next thing I would say is, because I've seen where I mentor people and they didn't listen. They want to come to you for being mentored because you have the experience, but then they don't want to do what you're telling them to do. Well, why'd you come in the first place? I think me and Kizzy only had one. We had one where I was trying. It was something about
Upzone.
Do you remember? It was only one time. It's about Upzone. I was trying to figure out, man.
Upzone.
I'm like not aligned in the hub zone. We kind of went back and forth, and then I forgot exactly how you put it. It was like, look, according to this, that, and the other. It was almost kind of like, in the Navy we say, the stupid shall be punished. It was kind of like that, but in a much more professional way. And then I was like, oh, Dad, Kizzy never talked to me like that. I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm good. I will defer to your expertise. And I'm so glad, because you hear these stories of people try to be slick and cross the line. It's like, you cannot have that. And I remember you telling me, like, Mike, can't have that. Don't, no shades of gray. You have to be upfront. You have to have integrity. Don't do it. And I'm so glad, because at the time I wanted it, right? It's like, oh, you see all these success stories, but having a great coach that's going to stand up to you and be like, don't do it, and at some point, if you don't want to listen, okay, well, hey, you're going to have to learn the hard way. Great coach. And I'm glad I did not learn the hard way, because you stood your ground. And then I realized when things shifted, I said, oh, snap, I'm about to get in trouble. I'm not going to touch it. And I will never do that. So I learned. So yeah, when you have a coach, listen to your coach, and especially if it's Kizzy, listen to your coach.
I love that. And I love it because it's part of it. I'm grateful you didn't have to take on that learning tax. Mm-hmm. Because there's this thought, hey, I have to have this set aside, or I need this license, or I need this insurance, or I need this certification. And the real question is, what do you really need to win something? And often you don't really need those things. And so it would have been a horrible burden instead of a blessing. And so I'm glad that you took a different path.
Me too. So
Mike, how can people get in contact with you?
Okay. So I'm a big text person. I mean, I have a website. Obviously, go to the website, www.massivekinetics.com. Kinetics, I put a little play on the word. So it's K-I-N as in Nancy, E-T-I-K-S as in Susan. So www.massivekinetics.com. There's a way to reach out to me out there. I'm on LinkedIn, Michael M. Dillard, D-I-L-L-A-R-D. Or you literally could just call me or text me. I'm not trying to hide my number, right? I'm in Hawaii. It's an 808 number. Right, 808-312-9924. Hit me up, right? Look, that's the simplest way to do it.
He's giving you his number. He's handed out his contact information. If I were you, I would call him. Just keep in mind the time difference might be 5 or 6 hours, depending on where you are. Please don't call him at 1 a.m. or 4 a.m. But I love that. I love not only your journey and that you're here and you're one of my closest friends and you helped me through some of the most difficult experiences in my life. There were many tears and many phone calls, and I can't thank you enough. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your journey and for continuing this. You're going to grow this to be a multi-million-dollar company. You're going to end up with it in the A, more than likely end up in the A&A program too. And then you're going to end up probably selling it or doing whatever it is you desire to do with MK Contracting.
Oh, yeah. I've already got a target. In November, I can submit my application for 8A.
Oh, good. And let me know, because we need an 8A.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, we definitely need an 8A. So I'm so appreciative. So again, thank you so much. Take him up on his offer. Contact him. Don't forget to hit the notification button, subscribe. Check out the book, winnerswaybook.com. Winnerswaybook.com. Check it out. If you haven't, join my Facebook group. There'll be a link below. And as always, I'm so grateful to each and every one of you, and everything is possible. Until next time.